There's a man society fears not because he's violent, loud, or rebellious, but because he's completely unpredictable. He doesn't follow the script. He doesn't chase the rewards others are killing themselves to earn. He doesn't care about fitting in or being efficient. He's lazy, but he's ambitious, and that paradox makes him dangerous. Because society doesn't know what to do with a man who refuses to be motivated by fear or approval. He's not a machine. He's not easily programmed. And when you look at him, you can't tell if he's wasting his potential or becoming something the rest of us can't even comprehend yet. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But society doesn't want you to become who you are. It wants you to become who it needs you to be. And that's exactly why the lazy, ambitious man breaks the system. He's not interested in becoming a productive cog in a machine that doesn't care about his soul. He's interested in something else, something deeper. He wants meaning, but he won't chase it the way others do. He won't hustle for validation. He won't burn himself out to prove he's worthy. He's waiting, watching, reflecting. And from the outside, it looks like he's doing nothing. But inside, a storm is building. A revolution is quietly forming.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
So let's get clear. What is a lazy, ambitious man? It sounds like a contradiction, but it isn't. It's a man with deep potential ambition that burns like fire, but who refuses to play the game the way others do. He doesn't want to climb ladders. He wants to burn them down and build something beneath the ground. He doesn't want to impress others. He wants to understand himself. He doesn't want to be famous. He wants to be free. He's lazy in the sense that he resists meaningless effort. But he's ambitious in that he refuses to settle for a life without depth, impact, or purpose. And this is where Jung's psychology becomes key. Jung believed that we each have a self buried beneath layers of ego, persona, and cultural conditioning. A self that isn't interested in success as defined by society, but in wholeness. That means facing your shadow. That means embracing your contradictions. That means becoming real in a world that rewards imitation. The lazy, ambitious man is often someone in the middle of this process. He's not lazy because he has no drive, but because he's become disillusioned with false drive. He's tired of chasing things that don't matter. He's tired of performing. He's tired of being told who to be. Now ask yourself this: what if your laziness isn't a flaw but a signal? A quiet rebellion from a deeper intelligence inside you that refuses to sacrifice your soul for superficial rewards. This is why society can't control this man. Because he doesn't respond to the usual carrots and sticks. He sees through them. He knows that working 60 hours a week in a job you hate isn't noble, it's a slow death. He knows that following every rule doesn't guarantee peace, it often guarantees regret. He knows that endless striving doesn't always lead to greatness, it can lead to emptiness. So he dares to pause, to slow down, to think. And in that space, he becomes a problem for the system. Because the system needs you busy. It needs you obedient. It needs you numb. But this man, he's awake. Now, let's go deeper. Jung said that the unlived life will surface in dreams, in symptoms, in breakdowns. It will haunt you. And the lazy, ambitious man often carries this weight. He knows he's meant for more. But he also knows that more isn't what he's being offered. He sees the trap. He sees the people who gave everything to the system and got nothing in return. He sees the men who worked their whole lives only to look back and ask, what was it for? And so he waits. He resists. He doesn't act until it matters. And when he does act, he moves like lightning. He builds like fire. He creates from the soul, not from fear. Let me give you an image. Imagine a lion in a cage. That lion doesn't pace. It rests. It sleeps. It appears lazy. But inside, it's always ready. It hasn't forgotten who it is. That's the lazy, ambitious man. He might be still, but he's not broken. He hasn't surrendered to the world's expectations. He's just biding his time. And when the cage opens, when the right idea hits, when the right moment comes, when the soul catches fire, he moves with a force that can't be stopped. Because it's not coming from obligation. It's coming from alignment. And here's where the philosophical tension peaks. What do you do with a man who doesn't want to be managed, but also refuses to drift? Who won't work for money, but will bleed for meaning? Who can't be bribed with comfort, but will suffer for truth? And that man is ungovernable. Not because he's chaotic, but because he's authentic. And authenticity is the one thing society cannot mass produce. It can't brand it. It can't scale it. It can't control it. So it tries to shame it. It calls him lazy. It calls him a failure. It says he's wasting potential. But deep down, it knows the truth. He's the most dangerous kind of man. The one who has seen through the illusion and chosen to live deliberately. We have to ask something hard here. Are you really lazy, or are you just resisting a life that doesn't make sense to your soul? Have you confused apathy with wisdom? Have you mistaken your refusal to conform for dysfunction? Or are you simply waking up to the truth that most of what we're taught to chase is hollow? This is where Jung would push us to look inward, to ask, what is your self calling you toward? Not your ego, not your social media bio, but yourself. The part of you that knows when something is real, the part of you that aches when you betray your purpose, the part of you that would rather be broke in truth than rich in deception. Well, that voice is quiet, but it's always speaking. And when the lazy, ambitious man listens to that voice, he begins to move in a way that society can't predict. He builds things that don't exist yet. He creates art that doesn't ask for permission. He starts revolutions with his presence alone. And here's the final twist for today. What looks like laziness is often gestation. A seed underground appears inactive. But in truth, it's preparing to break the surface. The lazy, ambitious man is often in that space. He's not behind, he's becoming. He's not lost. He's deconstructing false maps. He's not failing. He's freeing himself. And when he emerges, when he finds the mission, the vision, the fire that's worth his life, he will outwork, outthink, and outlast everyone. Not because he's trying to win, but because he's finally aligned with something real. We live in a world that equates movement with meaning. If you're not busy, you're failing. If you're not grinding, you're falling behind. If you pause, reflect, rest, or question the race, you're labeled lazy. But what if stillness isn't weakness? What if it's resistance? What if doing nothing is actually the first step in reclaiming your autonomy from a system that profits every time you forget who you are? Carl Jung warned us, when we avoid our inner world, we become slaves to the outer one. And that's exactly what society wants. It wants you distracted. It wants you overstimulated. It wants your soul fatigued, just enough to stop questioning the machine. But the lazy, ambitious man, he doesn't run. He stops. He listens. He withdraws. And in that stillness, he makes contact with something far more powerful than productivity. He touches the self. Jung's concept of the shadow is crucial here. The shadow is everything you repress, deny, or avoid in yourself. Society teaches you to exile anything that isn't useful: your sadness, your anger, your doubt, your fear, your boredom. But Jung knew what you suppress controls you. And here's the dangerous magic of the lazy, ambitious man: he often lives in the shadow. He doesn't pretend to be perfect. He doesn't polish his image for public approval. He dwells in his contradictions. He confronts his apathy. He stares into the void, not as a nihilist, but as a seeker. And this makes him radioactive to a world addicted to surface-level identity. Because he hasn't just seen the darkness, he's made peace with it. And that kind of man, you can't shame him, you can't manipulate him, you can't use fear to control him, because he's already met the parts of himself that fear was designed to hide. Now think about this. Why is society so terrified of people who aren't constantly working? Why does idleness feel like rebellion? It's because stillness invites awareness. And awareness is the death of blind obedience. When you stop moving, you begin to feel. When you feel, you begin to question. And when you question, you begin to see. You see the absurdity of the 9-to-5 treadmill. You see the emptiness behind corporate slogans. You see that success is often just a socially approved form of self-abandonment. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's why the lazy, ambitious man is dangerous. He's not just unproductive, but he's unconditioned. He's unplugged. He's begun to deconstruct the narrative. And that inner revolution, it spreads. It infects others with the scent of freedom. Jung might say that this man is undergoing individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. Not successful, not admired, not efficient, but whole. And individuation often begins not with action, but with breakdown, with withdrawal, with laziness. It looks like doing nothing. But it's actually the soul reorganizing itself. You're no longer operating from the ego, you're listening for something deeper. And this is where the lazy, ambitious man begins to become unstoppable. Because when he does emerge from that stillness, he doesn't move from fear or pressure. He moves from vision. He's slower, yes, but he's clear. He's not trying to outrun death. He's trying to meet life. And society has no algorithm for that. No KPI for that. No job title for that. So it ridicules him. It misunderstands him. Until one day it needs him. Because here's the twist that no one sees coming. The lazy, ambitious man becomes the one who builds the next system. He's the one who invents new ways of living, working, creating. Not because he conformed to the current model, but because he refused to. His stillness gave him access to deeper patterns. His laziness gave him space to see what others missed. His ambition refused to be hijacked by greed or ego. And so he creates from a place of wisdom, not desperation. These are the people who birth movements, write timeless books, build cultures, spark awakenings. Not because they hustled harder, but because they refused to hustle for the wrong things. This is the power society can't replicate. It's the power that comes from a man who has walked through the valley of meaninglessness and found himself on the other side. There comes a moment when the lazy, ambitious man stops waiting. The stillness that once felt like stagnation begins to shift. Something stirs, not from pressure, not from fear, but from clarity. He's no longer resisting the world, he's redefining it. And this is where the inner revolution begins. Because now, he's not just drifting in the dark, he's choosing his direction. And that choice is grounded not in what society expects from him, but in what his soul demands of him. Jung called this individuation the emergence of the authentic self. And when that self takes the wheel, everything changes. The man who once looked lazy now moves with precision. The ambition that once seemed directionless now becomes visionary. He becomes a creator not of content, not of brands, but of realities. What makes this man unstoppable isn't his energy, it's his alignment. He no longer wastes time chasing what isn't his. He's cut away the noise, the false identities, the performance. What's left is a kind of spiritual minimalism. He only builds what's true. He only commits where he feels resonance. He only acts when the action is essential. And when he does, he moves 10 times faster than those still locked in the loop of proving themselves. Because he's not distracted. He's not exhausted by pretending. He's tapped into something deeper than motivation, meaning. And meaning has no off switch. It doesn't burn you out. It burns through you, clearing everything that's not aligned with your purpose. And the world can't touch that, because it doesn't understand it. Let's ask something daring. What if your unproductivity is actually your soul protecting you from a life that would have never been yours to begin with? What if every hour you spent doing nothing was actually a sacred pause, a refusal to betray your deeper design? Jung believed that the self speaks in symbols, dreams, and intuition. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And the lazy, ambitious man is often the only one still enough to hear it. While others chase what they're told to want, he listens for what he's actually called to do. And when that call comes, it's not always grand. It might be a strange idea, a quiet obsession, a pull towards something irrational. But he follows it because he trusts his internal compass more than external applause. And that trust makes him ungovernable in the best way possible. Eventually, this man becomes the architect of something the world didn't know it needed. He doesn't just escape the system, he transcends it. He builds the next thing, the next art form, the next philosophy, the next way of living. And it's not because he was productive, it's because he saw more. His laziness gave him space. His ambition gave him fire. And together, they birthed a kind of creativity that can't be replicated by hustle culture. This is the man who creates without compromise, who leads without needing followers, who builds without begging for funding. His power doesn't come from visibility, it comes from authenticity. And in a world starving for something real, that authenticity becomes a lighthouse. So here is the final paradox. The man society once dismissed becomes the man it ends up following. Not because he played the game better, but because he refused to play at all. He wasn't lazy. He was awakening. He wasn't lost. He was becoming. He wasn't dangerous because he was disobedient, he was dangerous because he was free. And freedom, in a world built on control, is the greatest threat of all. So if you feel like the lazy, ambitious man, if you're restless, uncertain, uninterested in the world's rewards, don't panic. You're not broken, you're not behind, you're just being called. And once you answer that call, once you align your inner fire with your outer expression, you'll realize something radical. You were never lazy. You were just waiting for something worthy of your soul.